You finally get your life together. You become more disciplined, more focused, more productive. You start doing the things you once avoided. You build momentum, you get results, and from the outside, everything looks like it's going in the right direction. But internally, something feels off. There's no real excitement anymore. No deep satisfaction. Just a quiet, constant emptiness sitting in the background of your life. And what makes it worse is that this is exactly the life you once wanted. At first, you try to ignore it. You assume it's temporary. Maybe you just need a bigger goal, something more ambitious, something that will finally make it all feel worth it. So you push harder. You set higher targets. You keep moving forward. And when you finally reach that next milestone, you get that brief moment of relief. Maybe even a small sense of pride. But it fades quickly, faster than you expected. And then you're right back where you started, wondering why nothing seems to last. This creates a strange loop. You start chasing more, not because you're excited, but because you're trying to escape that empty feeling. And over time, you don't even realize it anymore. You just keep going, goal after goal, step after step. But the feeling never really changes. Most people believe happiness comes after achievement. It sounds logical. Work hard, reach your goals, and you'll finally feel fulfilled. But your brain doesn't work like that. It doesn't reward you for having something. It rewards you for moving toward something. The process is what creates the feeling, not the outcome. The moment you arrive, your brain adapts. What once felt meaningful becomes normal. And what's normal slowly starts to feel empty. To understand why this happens, you need to understand dopamine, and not in the simplified way most people talk about it. Dopamine is not just a pleasure chemical. It's a motivation and anticipation system. It activates when your brain expects something rewarding to happen. It's the feeling of something good is coming. That's why the chase feels so powerful. That's why progress feels addictive. And that's also why the reward itself rarely lives up to what you imagine. Think about the last time you were waiting for something you really wanted. Maybe it was a message, an opportunity, or something you worked toward for a long time. That waiting phase often feels intense. Your mind is active, engaged, almost energized. But the moment you actually get it, that intensity drops. Not because the thing isn't valuable, but because your brain is already adjusting to it. Now take that natural system and place it inside modern life. You are constantly surrounded by stimulation. Social media, short-form videos, notifications, endless content. Every scroll, every click, every new piece of information gives your brain a small dopamine spike. And over time, this changes your baseline. Your brain starts to expect constant input, constant novelty, constant reward. This is where things start to break. Because real life doesn't operate at that speed. Real progress is slower. Real experiences are quieter. Real satisfaction builds over time, not instantly. But your brain has been trained to expect the opposite. So normal life begins to feel underwhelming. Silence feels uncomfortable. Focus feels difficult. Even meaningful progress can feel unsatisfying because it doesn't give you that immediate spike. And this is the part most people never realize. The problem isn't that your life is boring. The problem is that your brain has lost sensitivity. It's like turning the volume up too high for too long. Eventually, everything sounds flat unless it's extremely loud. And this doesn't just affect how you feel. It affects how you behave. You start avoiding things that require patience. You struggle to stay focused on long-term goals. You lose interest faster, not because you lack discipline, but because your brain is constantly looking for something more stimulating. Now here's where it becomes even more counterintuitive. The more successful you become, the worse this feeling can get. Because success removes friction. It removes uncertainty. It removes the very things that created emotional intensity in the first place. When you're building something from nothing, everything feels meaningful. Every step matters. Every small win feels big. But when you reach a certain level, that contrast disappears. Life becomes more predictable, more controlled, more stable. And while that sounds ideal, it also reduces the emotional highs and lows that made everything feel alive. You win the game, but the game itself was what gave you the feeling you were chasing. So you end up in this strange position where everything looks right on paper but doesn't feel right internally. And because it doesn't make logical sense, most people try to fix it in the wrong way. They add more goals, more pressure, more stimulation. But that only pushes the baseline higher and makes the problem worse. So what actually fixes this? Not more, less. Less stimulation, less constant input, less dopamine flooding your system all day long. Because the only way to feel normal things again is to lower your baseline. When you reduce stimulation, something interesting happens. At first it feels uncomfortable, even boring. Your brain resists it because it's used to constant input. But if you stay in that state long enough, your system begins to reset. Your sensitivity comes back. Things that once felt dull start to feel engaging again. Simple activities feel better. Focus becomes easier. Progress feels meaningful again. Not because your life changed, but because your brain recalibrated. This is why things like stepping away from social media, removing constant distractions, or spending time in silence can feel so powerful over time. Not because they are exciting, but because they restore your ability to feel. And this is the shift most people never make. They keep chasing intensity instead of rebuilding sensitivity. But intensity is temporary. Sensitivity is what allows you to actually experience your life. You don't feel empty because your life is meaningless. You feel empty because your brain has adapted to a level of stimulation that real life can't match. And once you understand that, everything changes. Because now the solution becomes clear. It's not about chasing more, it's about resetting your ability to feel what's already there. If you want to understand how your mind really works and learn how to take control of it, subscribe.